Ladies and gentlemen, prepare to be astounded, ameliorated, castigated, and ramificated by the thrilling adventures of some guy on the internet thing show that this is. Oh my god. Oh. I got down here. I almost made it on time. I can make it on time. I need to start being more positive about this. But, somehow my OBS got, and I'm sorry for my audio the last couple of days. I think it was probably horrible. But I was really going, my daughter got food poisoning from Publix chicken. And she really suffered. It's been awful, and she's still not completely recovered. So I've just been reeling and struggling with our home business and everything, trying to keep my head together and not lose my mind. And a guy came to visit me who's been a big social justice and worked on behalf of the laboring. The labor class, his whole life, and did so many good things. And Jimmy, yeah, he came by to visit me yesterday. He's had cancer and had to have a kidney out, and still full of life and intellect. We talked for a long time. I was so glad he could come by and sit with me. Folks, we need to do that. People need to get together. We're not doing that enough anymore. But anyway, what have we got going on here? Oh, it's Freya. I'm looking at your picture, darling, and it looks a little bit a pixelationalism with artifact. This is JPEG degradationalizations behind it. So check your smartphone setting or whatever you use, girl. But you're looking pretty, yeah. You gonna have a baby? I hope so. All right. Let's see. Ain't no dang. Oh, ain't no Vault Blitz in ages. They're trying to. I don't know what Dave's up to behind this. Let's see. I just want to get this rigmarole behind me. Let's see. Ooh. Oh my God. AMD Blueprints. I loves it. I need all I can get. It's my special place in my heart robot. Alright. Let's see, whose account? I'm on my daughter's account, I think. I was working on her computer getting it set up. But today, this morning, it's like my audio, and I'm sure my audio has probably been just crap for the last couple of days. And it's still crap. This room could be a good studio. It really could. But I've got a couple of fish tanks in here, and they really need to move out, right? So I can get the audio in this room squared away and perfect. But yeah, it's a big job moving an aquarium, but it needs to be done. Yeah, and it's about time. But what I'm doing is I'm working for my wife's mess area, where she really tears things up, and she's so exhausted with the premenstrual dysphoric disorder that it takes, half a day to clean up after her partially. So you just, one thing I stopped doing when you're in a situation like that, you know, it's like if you keep running, man, you're gonna die, man. You can't keep up with it. So I just said I'm gonna take it one step at a time and just do what's in front of me and needs to be done. Keep working on it until I catch up. So I made it. You know, I was 30 minutes late today. So, and I was down here trying to figure out what had gone wrong with my audio, and you know, something. It's like OBS. I don't even know what OBS is getting, but I don't. It was maybe the electrical storms, or I don't know what happened, but it's getting something over. It's got to be coming from the microphone, but it's not like what you're hearing right now is what it's supposed to be. But what it was the last couple of days is like default or something on OBS, and I don't even know what it is. What are these people talking about up in here? Oh, they cursing each other out. Let's see. I want to get on here and say, hey, Tomokina, or something like that. Tomokinka. Like a girl. You're a girl. You're a girl. MF, I'm a guy. I am not weird. She's not my girlfriend. Get up and go touch grass. let's look at this, man. I gotta get back here. How long has this been going on? Ooh, it's going back. Okay. Tom OK says, that's why games exist, bro. Ultra says, laugh my ass off. Ajam says, hi. You just stepped into something, bro. You don't know. Dream says, I wanted to join you guys. Tom OK says, join us where? To talk. Dream, don't you got daily challenges to complete and whatnot? I suggest grinding what you got to grind and leave the time to get and then chat. And have the time to get and then chat with others. What? Completed them. Not all. Do them all. I have grinded lots. And I only have my dog hanger. Ultra says, it's good enough, man, considering I'm F2P. So you don't use real money on games. All of you are now getting sus. Dream. Explain. What? How? Why? Bro, what? Bro tried to pull the sus card when there's no sus to be seen. How are we sus? What do you mean? What do you called us sus for no reason? Explain. We're having a normal conversation about the game. Dream. Don't forget to type after mentioning someone. Is there anything called a dog hanger? Dream, that was a typo. Dream, bro. I got 5 letters now. You're turning into Grammarly. Grammarly. Dream. Tom McKay, who said you could speak for him? Dream, bro. Leave her. She's just talking. Dream, she's chill. Ooh. You don't need to make a big deal, bro. Tom McKay. Girlfriend. Ha 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 ha. Dream, my God, bro. Shut up. Dream, get up and go touch grass. And she's not my girlfriend. Done. He went and touched some grass. I'm not weird, Dream. Okay. Maybe friend. What do you mean? I'm saying she's your friend. MF, what does that stand for? I'm a guy. That's a nasty way to talk to people. Can anyone give a great gate crasher? Oh man, do you get on here and you just ask for a gate crasher and you're Division 10? Just installed the game. Who the hell said I'm a girl? LOL. Alright. Bro, just go and play the game and leave the chat. Your logic is non-existent. Tom, okay, who asked? I did. Okay, so go effing do it. Shut the F up. Tom, okay. Dream, kill yourself. That's so nasty. Dream says, shut up, Tommel. Dream, bruh, what? What color is your Bugatti? What color is your dang Bugatti? What you talking about? F you all. No, you noobs. All those pay to win people, not you. HM, hello. Like your absent father? No, stop. Barely 10k XP and you got a half a paid hanger. Who's he talking about? Oh, he's talking about sheesh. Alright. Grow up there. Let me go look at sheesh and see what he's got. He made it all, man, he been playing. He made it all the way up here. No, that's Tom. Where is sheesh? Okay. Yeah, that's more like it. He's got a dang really good. He is a paid hanger. Somebody got money. Man, he's got 1, 2, 3 miniguns and a rocket mortar. Ooh, it's horrible. But that Paragon is kind of... Let's look at this. A plasma cannon 4. Who would use that? Well, I don't know. Yeah, low XP. Squad power 1445. Dang you! It's Fat Albert. I can't believe I got second place playing crap. Oh, I moved up a bracket to novice. Ladies and gentlemen, I present you with Super Noob. And now Mad takes a very serious turn toward politics. Events have been moving and shaping in Europe with increasing rapidity. One of the key pieces in the international chess game is the oft-forgotten nation of Greece. We are then devoting this column in Mad to a very sober discussion on the significance of Greece in this present struggle of ideologies. Our writer is considered one of the leading analysts on Greece, and one whose opinion might well reveal the future that we and the world face in the next 100 years. Wow. Ain't nobody over here. I'm just gonna take it in stride. I need to, just chill this morning. I'm already drinking too much coffee. Feel it a little bit. Corvax. Dang it. That's my fault. I'm not playing with the thing. Oh. There you go. Dang it. believe it. I ain't got now, cheetah. Just. Alright. Didn't even make it a second. With your pay to win business, minigun boy. With your nasty name. You kidding me? Nasty name. Hey man, Blood Wolf, are you there? Did you just send that? Yeah, man, bro, what's up? How's my audio? It got messed up really bad the last couple of days, and I still haven't really figured out some problems. My monitor is way My monitor's way high, and it's hard to deal with. But OBS, I don't know if I need to reinstall it or something like that. But there was an electrical storm and stuff. How you been doing, man? Yeah. Let me jump back into this thing. Grinding, boy. Grinding. Tired. I got down here, you know, I'm supposed to be on from 4:30, 5:30, 6:30, 7:30, 8:30, and then my daughter wakes up. I couldn't get it fixed until 5. Ooh, I don't want to be here. Ooh, I hate this spot. Well, I mean, it's alright. I don't know. Yeah, that's where I'm going. I just like this little relaxing little niche down here. So I can just calmly stay in this one little place. It's slow. If you never spend any money, man, it's real slow going. You gotta fight to get anything. Oh no, please leave me alone, man. I'm not down here minding my own business, trying to get my coins, and you want to come up in here with irritationalizationalisms. Man, I don't need it. Give me a break. But could you? I am so, and I can't even aim. Ouch. Oh, dang it. Long arm my behind. That's what. It's Fat Albert. Oh, man. That's rough, that 10-second reload, man. That's terrible. Got my revengalizationalisms. Alright. No, see? I ain't got no reload implant for my long arms, man. That's what I need. Teach me, man. You're probably more advanced than I am. I'm not really a good gamer, I don't think. I just, you know, and I was watching that thing. Did you see that big tournament of Valorant? Oh, man. There was 90,000 people on that stream. 90,000 people. Wow. And all those hot women that play Valorant. God, my goodness. Lots of them. Can you just stand down here in front of my gun and let me relax a little bit and get a break? I promise I would give you a Twinkie. Imaginary Twinkie. A virtual reality Twinkie. Oh, God, I can't believe it. Man, how you get an EM rifle, man? Where you get all that money? I ain't got it. I'm teaching a class in the afternoon on Twitch, like, and it's, you know, I want to keep doing it. We're doing web development and game development stuff in there. Some of it's real kid oriented, and some of it's more adult oriented, higher and higher tech. Have you seen like Unreal Engine 5, the MetaHumans, where you can? It's like you can take a free. You can design a character in 2D with artificial intelligence software, like Midjourney or something like that. And once your character's design is done, you can convert that to 3D. And MetaHumans and Make It Talk, all free. We use Blender. Man, the thing is man, my friend, I was taking care of her. I never have bought an iPhone. Never have. And I just gave the man's iPhone away to some bums. They took it to the pawn shop, I think. And I did. I was distracted there. I should, as soon as I did it, I was like, I probably could have broken into it. And then I looked it up, and sure enough, I could have broken into it. But right now, this thing I'm talking about, where you can make a game character, like a realistic game character. Oh, you stupid pay-to-win jerk. There are too many guys, too, man. Fool, I would love to. Too many guns and Surge. That's like, what, $125? I ain't got that kind of coin. I got a baby here. I'm trying to take care of people. That's alright. Oh, man, can you get your dang turret? I am not... Oh, no. Well, that's some kind of stasis barrier there. Let me just... It's like... Is that even a barrier of any kind? I don't know. Oh, he's gonna kill me anyway. Oh, no. Killed by bot. The shame of it all. Oh, 10 pounds, man. You must be in England. God save the Queen. The fascist regime. They made you a moron. Potential H-bomb. God save the Queen. Oh, no. The Queen sent her soldiers after me now. She ain't no human being. I was working in an all-black school. I mean, there were some Hispanic people. It's like a real rough area of town. And they got this white lady, like, to come work there. And she was big about, I'm gay. And apparently she had a thing for the Queen of England, right? And then the Queen died. And she was like going all through the school. Oh, the Queen. And, black people, they don't like the Queen. And the slave trade and all the British Empire of all over Africa, right? It's like, and here's the slave man, lady, you don't even know where you even is. She doesn't know where she even is. And all the little kids are like, oh, I hate that cracker. I was like, hey, Hellraiser, I've been wanting to play. My daughter got food poisoning, and it's been a very, very grievous few days for me. I know some husbands are like, they manhandle their wives. They're like, they'll pop them, whatever. But I just don't have it in me. My mom was a real hitter, puncher, kind of thing. My wife is sort of too, but she's real small, so she can't hurt anybody. Well, yeah. But... Oh, man. I mean, I had told my wife we're not supposed to eat this chicken from the supermarket, from Publix. Hello, Omega Mon. But she likes it. I mean, it was a big saga. She wanted to get it one time, and some people from the church she used to go to, were like, oh man, we were in the hospital. We ate that chicken from that place, and we were in the hospital, and blah 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 blah. And don't ever get that, So put it off that time, and then she came back and wanted to get it again, and she's like, well, she said it's special because it's rotisserie, right? And I'm like, well, how about we just buy you a rotisserie and we can do our own rotisserie in the house, you know? So I buy her like a $300 rotisserie oven, and then she want to go misplace the spike. You know, there's a spike that goes in the oven. She can't find it. So she you know, it's like I buy her the thing, and then she's like, well, sort of, she don't want to cook nothing. She's sort of okay, but not completely. She's still got the runs. It's really hurt me. I hate to see her suffering, you know. And she just stay on the toilet, poor little thing. She's on antibiotics. We had to go to the dang for a stupid $5 chicken. Could have made it myself. But this is another thing, the culture problem with my wife is Filipino, and in their society, the woman's supposed to keep the household, and she can't really do it because she's got bad health condition. She can't prepare the food that I need to eat. Ooh, jerk. Hey, it's Fat Albert. Ouch. Now stop, man. You can give a man a break here for a minute. Just give me my corner. Now I'm trying to keep it trying and trying. Oh no. You want to come down here like that? I'm trying to get around the corner. I'm trying to get away from you. So first the chicken gave her the shits, you know, and the stomach cramps and a fever, and the fever stopped after, you know, got up to like 102 or something like that, and then it took the children's Tylenol or whatever, and it came back down. But what happened is, with all the diarrhea, she got a urinary tract infection. Yeah, so very awful for a little baby to have to go through that. It was terrible. And, you know, so I'm not quite myself these past couple of days. And my wife, under stress, she just tends to get real aggressive, and you can't take anything that she says, because she'll say mean things and stuff, and she'll get over it, come back to normal, you know, but it's tough. Married bliss. Something happened with my OBS too, and my audio is all it was. I had it all set up perfect, and something got messed up. Hey, Hellraiser, would you want to do some 2 versus 2? Good shot. Good shot for a bot. Wasted. Wasted again. I gotta work on my reaction time. I'm hoping, yeah, to actually really become a good gamer. You know, I'm really trying to practice. But I sucks. I was watching that Valorant tournament. I was like, dang, there's 90,000 people watching this. Oh. Doom, 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 doom. There you go. Oh, and you want to get mad. I'm sorry. I thought you were trying to kill me. I'm dead. I would have loved to have taken him out. I got a real good night's sleep last night, I can say that. Awesome. Hey bro, what's going on? What's going on with your life? Good things? What did you do? All right. Congratulations. Man, I don't even think EM rifle is even unlocked for me or whatever. I have not seen a way to get it. Oh, carnita. Man, that's so nasty. Carnita is like it's like pork. It's like ground pork, right? Ooh, I don't like you. And see? She don't even die. Whole missile rack. Heavily armed bot. Double KO. Damn. 2-1, buddy. Three to nothing. Man, she got me on the stasis beam. Help. I'm doomed. Helix Rack 16, man, bro. I ain't got that. That was a double KO, wasn't it? Those double KOs are hard to get sometimes. We should clean up these guys. I hope I don't get too arrogant. Stop shooting me with that fusion cannon, boy. Ooh, I don't like it. Good job, buddy. Stretching my fingers. Do you need a break, Hellraiser? Yeah. My hand was getting to be like the claw, you know, I need to stretch it out. It's like the creature from the Black Lagoon hand or something like that. I was thinking about you and I got the Hellraiser movies and I found out there were 10 of them now. I only ever saw like 3. Dang it, that's my buddy. Yeah, you get right over there. That's right, you just stand right there. That's right, yeah. Flank your behind. Dang you.
sometimes, and above all from taking for the basis of its theories, a principle which is profoundly true when one considers it in its true light, that is say, from the relative point of view, but which when envisaged and set down in an absolute manner is the only foundation and first source of all other principles, as is done by the school, becomes completely false. This principle, which constitutes besides the essential basis of scientific socialism, was for the first time scientifically formulated and developed by Karl Marx, the principal leader of the German Communist School. It forms the dominating thought of the celebrated Communist Manifesto, which an international committee of French, English, Belgian and German communists assembled in London issued in 1848 under the slogan, "Proletarians of all lands, unite." This manifesto, drafted as everyone knows, by Messrs. Marx and Engels, became the basis of all the further scientific works of the school and of the popular agitation later started by Ferdinand Lassalle in Germany. This principle is the absolute opposite to that recognized by the idealists of all schools. Whilst these latter derive all historical facts, including the development of material interests and of the different phases of the economic organization of society, from the development of ideas, the German communists, on the contrary, want to see in all human history, in the most idealistic manifestations of the collective as well as the individual life of humanity, in all the intellectual, moral, religious, metaphysical, scientific, artistic, political, juridical, and social developments which have been produced in the past and continue to be produced in the present, nothing but the reflections or the necessary after effects of the development of economic facts. Whilst the idealists maintain that ideas dominate and produce facts, the communists, in agreement besides with scientific materialism, say, on the contrary, that facts give birth to ideas and that these latter are never anything else but the ideal expression of accomplished facts, and that among all the facts, economic and material facts, the preeminent facts, constitute the essential basis, the principal foundation of which all the other facts, intellectual and moral, political and social, are nothing more than the inevitable derivatives. We, who are materialists and determinists, just as much as Marx himself, we also recognize the inevitable linking of economic and political facts in history. We recognize, indeed, the necessity, the inevitable character of all events that happen, but we do not bow before them indifferently, and above all we are very careful about praising them when, by their nature, they show themselves in flagrant opposition to the supreme end of history, to the thoroughly human ideal that is to be found under more or less obvious forms, in the instincts, the aspirations of the people, and under all the religious symbols of all epochs, because it is inherent in the human race, the most social of all the races of animals on earth. Thus this ideal, today better understood than ever, can be summed up in the words, it is the triumph of humanity, it is the conquest and accomplishment of the full freedom and full development, material, intellectual and moral, of every individual, by the absolutely free and spontaneous organization of economic and social solidarity as completely as possible between all human beings living on the earth. Everything in history that shows itself conformable to that end, from the human point of view, and we can have no other, is good. All that is contrary to it is bad. We know very well, in any case, that what we call good and bad are always, one and the other, the natural results of natural causes, and that consequently one is as inevitable the other. But as in what is properly called nature we recognize many necessities that we are little disposed to bless. For example, the necessity of dying of hydrophobia when bitten by a mad dog. In the same way, in that immediate continuation of the life of nature, called history, we encounter many necessities which we find much more worthy of opprobrium than of benediction, and which we believe we should stigmatize with all the energy of which we are capable, in the interest of our social and individual morality, although we recognize that from the moment they have been accomplished, even the most detestable historic facts have that character of inevitability which is found in all the phenomena of nature as well as those of history. To make my idea clearer, I shall illustrate it by some examples. When I study the respective social and political conditions in which the Romans and the Greeks came into contact towards the decline of antiquity, I arrive at the conclusion that the conquest and destruction by the military and civic barbarism of the Romans, of the comparatively high standard of human liberty of Greece, was a logical, natural, absolutely inevitable fact. But that does not prevent me at all from taking retrospectively and very firmly this side of grace against Rome in that struggle, and I find that the human race gained absolutely nothing by the triumph of the Romans. In the same way, I consider as perfectly natural, logical, and consequently inevitable fact that Christians should have destroyed with a holy fury all the libraries of the pagans, all the treasures of art and of ancient philosophy and science. But it is absolutely impossible for me to grasp what advantages have resulted from it for our political and social development. I am even very much disposed to think that apart from that inevitable process of economic facts in which, if one were to believe Marx, there must be sought to the exclusion of all other considerations, the only cause of all the intellectual and moral facts which are produced in history, I say I am strongly disposed to think that this act of holy barbarity, or rather that long series of barbarous acts and crimes which the first Christians, divinely inspired, committed against the human spirit, was one of the principal causes of the intellectual and moral degradation and consequently also of the political and social enslavement which filled that long series of painful centuries called the Middle Ages. Be sure of this, that if the first Christians had not destroyed the libraries, museums, and temples of antiquity, we should not have been condemned today to fight the massive, horrible, and shameful absurdities, which still obstruct men's brains to such a degree as to make us doubt sometimes the possibility of a more human future. Following on with the same order of protests against facts which have happened in history and of which consequently I myself recognize the inevitable character, I pause before the splendor of the Italian republics and before the magnificent awakening of human genius in the epoch of the Renaissance. Then I see approaching the two evil geniuses, as ancient as history itself, the two boa constrictors which up till now have devoured everything human and beautiful that history has produced. They are called the Church and the State, the Papacy and the Empire. Eternal evils and inseparable allies, I see them become reconciled, embrace each other and together devour and stifle and crush that unfortunate and too beautiful Italy, condemn her to 3 centuries of death. Well, again I find all that very natural, logical, inevitable, but nevertheless abominable, and I curse both Pope and Emperor at the same time. Let us pass on to France. After a struggle which lasted a century, Catholicism, supported by the state, finally triumphed there over Protestantism. Well, do I not still find in France today some politicians or historians of the fatalist school and who, calling themselves revolutionaries, consider this victory of Catholicism a bloody and inhuman victory if ever there was one, as a veritable triumph for the revolution? Catholicism, they maintain, was then the state, democracy, whilst Protestantism represented the revolt of the aristocracy against the state and consequently against democracy. It is with sophisms like that completely identical, besides with the Marxian sophisms, which, also, consider the triumphs of the state as those of social democracy. It is with these absurdities, as disgusting as revolting, that the mind and moral sense of the masses is perverted, habituating them to consider their bloodthirsty exploiters, their age-long enemies, their tyrants, the masters and the servants of the state, as the organs, representatives, heroes, devoted servants of their emancipation. It is 1,000 times right to say that Protestantism then, not as Calvinist theology, but as an energetic and armed protest, represented revolt, liberty, humanity, the destruction of the state. Whilst Catholicism was public order, authority, divine law, the salvation of the state by the Church and the Church by the state, the condemnation of human society to a boundless and endless slavery. Whilst recognizing the inevitability of the accomplished fact, I do not hesitate to say that the triumph of Catholicism in France in the 16th and 17th centuries was a great misfortune for the whole human race, and that the massacre of Saint Bartholomew, as well as the revocation of the Edict of Nantes, were facts as disastrous for France herself as were lately the defeat and massacre of the people of Paris in the Commune. I have actually heard very intelligent and very estimable Frenchmen explain this defeat of Protestantism in France by the essentially revolutionary nature of the French people. Protestantism, they said, was only a semi-revolution. We needed a complete revolution. It is for that reason that the French nation did not wish, and was not able to stop at the Reformation. It preferred to remain Catholic till the moment when it could proclaim atheism. and it is because of that it bore with such a perfect and Christian resignation both the horrors of Saint Bartholomew and those not less abominable of the executors of the revocation of the Edict of Nantes. These estimable patriots do not seem to want to consider one thing: it is that a people, who under whatsoever pretext it may be, suffers tyranny, necessarily loses at length the salutary habit of revolt and even the very instinct of revolt. It loses the feeling for liberty, and once a people has lost all that, it necessarily becomes not only by its outer conditions, but in itself, in the very essence of its being, a people of slaves. It was because Protestantism was defeated in France that the French people lost, or rather, never acquired, the custom of liberty. It is because this tradition and this custom are lacking in it that it has not today what we call political consciousness, and it is because it is lacking in this consciousness that all the revolutions it has made up to now have not been able to give it or secure it political liberty. With the exception of its great revolutionary days, which are its festival days, the French people remain today as yesterday, a people of slaves. Bakunin, Marxism, Freedom and the State. 3. The state and Marxism, all work to be performed in the employ and pay of the state. Such is the fundamental principle of authoritarian communism, of state socialism. The state having become sole proprietor at end of a certain period of transition which will be necessary to let society pass without too great political and economic shocks from the present organization of bourgeois privilege to the future organization of the official equality of all, the state will be also the only capitalist, banker, money-lender, organizer, director of all national labor and distributor of its products. Such is the ideal, the fundamental principle of modern communism, enunciated for the first time by Babeuf, towards the close of the Great French Revolution, with all the array of antique civism or revolutionary violence, which constituted the character of the epoch. It was recast and reproduced in miniature, about 45 years later by Louis Blanc in his tiny pamphlet on the organization of labor, in which that estimable citizen, much less revolutionary, and much more indulgent towards bourgeois weaknesses than was Babeuf, tried to gild and sweeten the pill so that the bourgeois could swallow it without suspecting that they were taking a poison which would them. But the bourgeois were not deceived, and returning brutality for politeness, they expelled Louis Blanc from France. In spite that, with a constancy which one must admire, he remained alone faithfulness to his economic system and continued to believe that the whole future was contained in his little pamphlet on the organization of labor. The communist idea later passed into more serious hands. Karl Marx, the undisputed chief of the Socialist Party in Germany, a great intellect armed with a profound knowledge, whose entire life, one can say it without flattering, has been devoted exclusively to the greatest cause which exists today, the emancipation of labor and of the toilers. Karl Marx, who was indisputably also, if not the only, at least one of the principal founders of the International Working Men's Association, made the development of the communist idea the object of serious work. His great work, Capital, is not in the least a fantasy, an a priori conception, hatched out in a single day in the head of a young man more or less ignorant of economic conditions and of the actual system of production. It is founded on a very extensive, very detailed knowledge and a very profound analysis of this system and of its conditions. Karl Marx is a man of immense statistical and economic knowledge. His work on Capital, though unfortunately bristling with formulas and metaphysical subtleties, which render it unapproachable for the great mass of readers, is in the highest degree a scientific or realist work, in the sense that it absolutely excludes any other logic than that of the facts. Living for very nearly 30 years, almost exclusively among German workers, refugees like himself, and surrounded by more or less intelligent friends and disciples belonging by birth and relationship to the bourgeois world, Marx naturally has managed to form a communist school, or a sort of little communist church, composed of fervent adepts and spread all over Germany. This church, restricted though it may be on the score of numbers, is skillfully organized, and thanks to its numerous connections with working-class organizations in all the principal places in Germany, it has already become a power. Karl Marx naturally enjoys an almost supreme authority in this church, and to do him justice, it must be admitted that he knows how to govern this little army of fanatical adherents in such way as always to enhance his prestige and power over the imagination of the workers of Germany. Marx is not only a learned socialist, he is also a very clever politician and an ardent patriot. Like Bismarck, though by somewhat different means, and like many other of his compatriots, socialists or not, he wants the establishment of a great Germanic state for the glory of the German people and for the happiness and the voluntary, or enforced civilization of the world. The policy of Bismarck is that of the present. The policy of Marx, who considers himself at least as a successor, and his continuator, is that of the future. And when I say that Marx considers himself the continuator of Bismarck, I am far from calumniating Marx. If he did not consider himself as such, he would not have permitted Engels, the confidant of all his thoughts, to write that Bismarck serves the cause of social revolution. He serves it now in his own way. Marx will serve it later, in another manner. That is the sense in which he will be later, the continuator, as today he the admirer of the policy of Bismarck. Now let us examine the particular character of Marx's policy and let us ascertain the essential points on which it is to be separated from the Bismarckian policy. The principal point, and, one might say the only one, is this: Marx is a Democrat, an authoritarian socialist, and a Republican. Bismarck is an out-and-out Pomeranian, aristocratic monarchical junker. The difference is therefore very great, very serious, and both sides are sincere in this difference. On this point, there is no possible understanding or reconciliation possible between Bismarck and Marx. Even apart from the numerous irrevocable pledges that Marx throughout his life has given to the cause of socialist democracy, his very position and his ambitions give a positive guarantee on this issue. In a monarchy, however liberal it might be, or even cannot be any place, any role for Marx, and so much the more so in the Prussian Germanic Empire founded by Bismarck, with the bugbear of an emperor, militarist and bigoted, as chief and with all the barons and bureaucrats of Germany for guardians. Before he can arrive at power, Marx will have to sweep all that away. Therefore he is forced to be revolutionary. That is what separates Marx from Bismarck: the form and the conditions of the government. One is an out-and-out aristocrat and monarchist. And in a conservative republic like that of France under theirs, there the other is an out-and-out Democrat and Republican, and, into the bargain, a socialist Democrat and a socialist Republican. Let us see now what unites them. It is the out-and-out cult of the state. I have no need to prove it in the case of Bismarck. The proofs are there. From head to foot he is a statesman and nothing but a statesman. But neither do I believe that I shall have need of too great efforts to prove that it is the same with Marx. He loves government to such a degree that he even wanted to institute one in the International Working Men's Association. And he worships power so much that he wanted to impose and still means today to impose his dictatorship on us. It seems to me that that is sufficient to characterize his personal attitude. But his socialist and political program is a very faithful expression of it. The supreme objective of all his efforts, as is proclaimed to us by the fundamental statutes of his party in Germany, is the establishment of the great people's state, Volksstaat. But whoever says state, necessarily says a particular limited state, doubtless comprising, if it is very large, many different people and countries, but excluding still more. For unless he is dreaming of the universal state, as did Napoleon and the Emperor Charles V, or as the papacy dreamed of the universal church, Marx, in spite of all the international ambition which devours him today, will have, when the hour of the realization of his dreams has sounded for him, if it ever does sound, he will have to content himself with governing a single state and not several states at once. Consequently, whoever says state says a state, and whoever says a state affirms by that the existence of several states, and whoever says several states, immediately says competition, jealousy, truceless and endless war. The simplest logic as well as all history bear witness to it. Any state, under pain of perishing and seeing itself devoured by neighboring states, must tend towards complete power, and, having become powerful, it must embark on a career of conquest, so that it shall not be itself conquered. For two powers similar and at the same time foreign to each other could not coexist without trying to destroy each other. Whoever says conquest, says conquered peoples, enslaved and in bondage, under whatever form or name it may be. It is in the nature of the state to break the solidarity of the human race and, as it were, to deny humanity. The state cannot preserve itself as such in its integrity and in all its strength except it sets itself up as supreme and absolute be-all and end-all, at least for its own citizens, or to speak more frankly, for its own subjects, not being able to impose itself as such on the citizens of other states unconquered by it. From that there inevitably results a break with human, considered as universal, morality and with universal reason, by the birth of state morality and reasons of state. The principle of political or state morality is very simple. The state, being the supreme objective, everything that is favorable to the development of its power is good. All that is contrary to it, even if it were the most humane thing in the world, is bad. This morality is called patriotism. The international is the negation of patriotism and consequently the negation of the state. If therefore Marx and his friends of the German Socialist Democratic Party should succeed in introducing the state principle into a program, they would kill the international. The state, for its own preservation, must necessarily be powerful as regards foreign affairs. But if it is so as regards foreign affairs, it will infallibly be so as regards home affairs. Every state, having to let itself be inspired and directed by some particular morality, conformable to the particular conditions of its existence, by morality which is a restriction and consequently a negation of human and universal morality, must keep watch that all its subjects, in their thoughts and above all in their acts, are inspired also only by the principles of this patriotic or particular morality, and that they remain deaf to the teachings of pure or universally human morality. From that there results the necessity for a state censorship. Too great liberty of thought and opinions being, as Marx considers, very reasonably too from his eminently political point of view, incompatible with that unanimity of adherence demanded by the security of the state. That in reality is Marx's opinion is sufficiently proved by the attempts which he made to introduce censorship into the international, under plausible pretexts, and covering it with a mask. But however vigilant this censorship may be, even if the state were to take into its own hands exclusively education and all the instruction of the people, as Mazzini wished to do, and as Marx wishes to do today, the state can never be sure that prohibited and dangerous thoughts may not slip in and be smuggled somehow into the consciousness of the population that it governs. Forbidden fruit has such an attraction for men, and the demon of revolt, that eternal enemy of the state, awakens so easily, in their hearts when they are not sufficiently stupefied, that neither this education nor this instruction, nor even the censorship, sufficiently guarantee the tranquility of the state. It must still have a police, devoted agents who watch over and direct, secretly and unobtrusively, the current of the people's opinions and passions. We have seen that Marx himself is so convinced of this necessity, that he believed he should fill with his secret agents all the regions of the international and, above all, Italy, France, and Spain. Finally, however perfect may be, from the point of view of the preservation of the state, the organization of education and instruction for the people, of censorship in the police, the state cannot be secure in its existence while it does not have, to defend it against its enemies at home, an armed force. The state is government from above downwards of an immense number of men, very different from the point of view of the degree of their culture, the nature of the countries or localities that they inhabit, the occupation they follow, the interests and the aspirations directing them. The state is the government of all these by some or other minority. This minority, even if it were 1,000 times elected by universal suffrage and controlled in its acts by popular institutions, unless it were endowed with the omniscience, omnipresence and the omnipotence which the theologians attribute to God, it is impossible that it could know and foresee the needs, or satisfy with an even justice the most legitimate and pressing interests in the world. There will always be discontented people because there will always be some who are sacrificed. Besides, the state, like the church, by its very nature is a great sacrificer of living beings. It is an arbitrary being, in whose heart all the positive, living, individual, and local interests of the population meet, clash, destroy each other, become absorbed in that abstraction called the common interest, the public good, the public safety, and where all real wills cancel each other in that other abstraction which bears the name of the will of the people. It results from this, that this so-called will of the people is never anything else than the sacrifice and the negation of all the real wills of the population. Just as this so-called public good is nothing else than the sacrifice of their interests. But so that this omnivorous abstraction could impose itself on millions of men, it must be represented and supported by some real being, by some living force or other. Well, this being, this force, has always existed. In the church it is called the clergy, and in the state the ruling or governing class. And, in fact, what do we find throughout history? The state has always been the patrimony of some privileged class or other. A priestly class, an aristocratic class, a bourgeois class, finally a bureaucratic class. When, all the other classes having become exhausted, the state falls or rises, as you will, to the condition of a machine. But it is absolutely necessary for the salvation of the state that there should be some privileged class or other which is interested in its existence. And it is precisely the united interest of this privileged class which is called patriotism. By excluding the immense majority of the human race from its bosom, by casting it beyond the pale of the engagements and reciprocal duties of morality, justice and right, the state denies humanity, and with that big word, patriotism, imposes injustice and cruelty on all its subjects, as a supreme duty. It restrains, it mutilates, it kills humanity in them, so that, ceasing to be men, they are no longer anything but citizens, or rather, more correctly considered in relation to the historic succession of facts, so that they shall never raise themselves beyond the level of the citizen to the level of a man. If we accept the fiction of a free state derived from a social contract, then discerning, just, prudent people ought not to have any longer any need of government or of state. Such a people can need only to live, leaving a free course to all their instincts. Justice and public order will naturally and of their accord proceed from the life of the people, and the state, ceasing to be the providence, guide, educator, and regulator of society, renouncing all its repressive power and falling to the subaltern role which Providence assigns it, will no longer be anything else but a simple business office, a sort of central clearinghouse at the service of society. Doubtless, such a political organization, or rather, such a reduction of political action in favor of liberty in social life, would be a great benefit for society, but it would not at all please the devoted adherents of the state. They absolutely must have a state providence, a state directing social life, dispensing justice, and administering public order. That is to say, whether they admit it or not, and even when they call themselves Republicans, Democrats, or even Socialists, they always must have a people who are more or less ignorant, minor, incapable, or to call things by the right names, riff-raff, to govern. In order, of course, that doing violence to their own disinterestedness and modesty, they can keep the best places for themselves, in order always to have the opportunity to devote themselves to the common good, and that, strong in their virtuous devotion and their exclusive intelligence, privileged guardians of the human flock, whilst urging it on for its own good and leading it to security, they may also fleece it a little. Every logical and sincere theory of the state is essentially founded on the principle of authority, that is to say on the eminently theological, metaphysical and political idea that the masses, always incapable of governing themselves, must submit at all times to the benevolent yoke of a wisdom and a justice, which in one way or another, is imposed on them from above. But imposed in the name of what and by whom? Authority recognized and respected as such by the masses can have only three possible sources: force, religion, or the action of a superior intelligence. And this supreme intelligence is always represented by minorities. Slavery can change its form and its name, its basis remains the same. This basis is expressed by the words, being a slave is being forced to work for other people, as being a master is to live on the labor of other people. In ancient times, as today in Asia and Africa, slaves were simply called slaves. In the Middle Ages, they took the name of serfs. Today they are called wage earners. Then that of slaves, but they are nonetheless forced by hunger as well as by the political and social institutions to maintain by very hard work the absolute or relative idleness of others. Consequently, they are slaves. And, in general, no state, either ancient or modern, has ever been able, or ever will be able to do without the forced labor of the masses, whether wage earners or slaves, as a principal and absolutely necessary basis of the liberty and culture of the political class, the citizens. Even the United States is no exception to this rule. Its marvelous prosperity and enviable progress are due in great part and above all to one important advantage: the great territorial wealth of North America. The immense quantity of uncultivated and fertile lands, together with a political liberty that exists nowhere else, attracts every year hundreds of thousands of energetic, industrious and intelligent colonists. This wealth, at the same time, keeps off pauperism and delays the moment when the social question will have to be put. A worker who does not find work or who is dissatisfied with the wages offered by the capitalist can always, if need be, emigrate to the far west to clear their somewhat unoccupied land. This possibility, always remaining open as a last resort to all American workers, naturally keeps wages at a level, and gives to every individual an independence unknown in Europe. Such is life the advantage, but here is the disadvantage. As cheapness of the products of industry is achieved in great part by cheapness of labor, the American manufacturers for most of the time are not in a condition to compete against the manufacturers of Europe, from which there results, for the industry of the northern states, the necessity for a projectionist tariff. But that has a result, firstly to create a host of artificial industries, and above all to oppress and ruin the non-manufacturing southern states and make them want secession. Finally to crowd together into cities like New York, Philadelphia, Boston and many others, proletarian working mass who, little by little, are beginning to find themselves already in a situation analogous to that of the workers in the great manufacturing states of Europe. And we see, in effect, the social question already being posed in the northern states, just as it was posed long before our countries. And there too, the self-government of the masses, in spite of all the display of the people's omnipotence, remains most of the time in a state of fiction. In reality, it is minorities which govern. The so-called Democratic Party, up to the time of the Civil War to emancipate the slaves, were the out-and-out partisans of slavery and of the ferocious oligarchy of the planters, demagogues without faith or conscience, capable of sacrificing everything to their greed and evil-minded ambition, and who, by their detestable influence and actions, exercised almost unhindered, for nearly 50 years continuously, have greatly contributed to deprave the political morality of North America. The Republican Party, though really intelligent and generous, is still and always a minority, and whatever the sincerity of this party of liberation, however great and generous the principles it professes, do not let us hope that, in power, it will renounce this exclusive position of a governing minority to merge into the mass of the nation, so that the self-government of the people shall finally become a reality. For that there will be necessary a revolution far more profound than all those which hitherto have shaken the old and new worlds. In Switzerland, in spite of all the democratic revolutions that have taken place there, it is still always the class in comfortable circumstances, the bourgeoisie, that is to say, the class privileged by wealth, leisure, and education, which governs. The sovereignty of the people, a word which, anyway, we detest because in our eyes, all sovereignty is detestable. The government of the people by themselves is likewise a fiction. The people are sovereign in law, not in fact, for necessarily absorbed by their daily labor, which leaves them no leisure, and if not completely ignorant, at least very inferior in education to the bourgeoisie. They are
All right. Let's see how we did. Oh, got lots of crates. Nothing but rocket blue plants do I want. Let's see. Okay, I saw me some dying MD blueprints go by. Wait a minute. Ooh. Mm. 25. Let's see where we're at. Ooh. Alright, it's time to switch to Big Daddy's account. Okay, so my Macarena should be starting up. I changed my account over to Mines. Ooh, claim. This is the sound of sand.
Dear editors, we, the duly elected unheretofore mentioned parties of the first part, think that you, the unheretofore mentioned parties of the second part, published for the purpose of making filthy capitalistic money, a magazine, term applied loosely, fit only for idiots, practical jokers, hysterical politicians, and college professors. Reg B. Wag, 6 7/8. We drew the name out of the hat. Oh, that's a... Oh. Karen. No. We got Karens. The goat. Let me get back over here and relax a little bit. Don't you want to come see me? No, you did. I love ball cut. Stupid bot. I'm pretty. The shaman. Big hairy shaman? Is that what BH stands for? I need you to give me just a minute, dear. I'm really in the middle of something. That's my wife, ladies and gentlemen. It will 1 minute and 40 seconds. I'll be with you. He's already dead. It's a beautiful day in the neighborhood. Alright, my wife is asking me for some help or something. I'm not sure what, but I'm gonna check out here for a second. And go to my hangar. Guess that means I need to pull an intermission page again.
They are forced to place in the hands of the latter their supposed sovereignty. The sole advantage which they get out of it in Switzerland, as in the United States, is that ambitious minorities, the political classes, cannot arrive at power otherwise than by paying court to the people, flattering their fleeting passions, which may sometimes be very bad, and most often deceiving them. It is true that the most imperfect republic is 1,000 times better than the most enlightened monarchy, for at least in the republic there are moments when, though always exploited, the people are not oppressed, while in monarchies they are never anything else. And then the democratic regime trains the masses little by little in public life, which the monarchy never does. But whilst giving the preference to the republic, we are nevertheless forced to recognize and proclaim that whatever may be the form of government, whilst human society remains divided into different classes because of the hereditary inequality of occupations, wealth, education, and privilege, there will always be minority government and the inevitable exploitation of the majority by that minority. The state is nothing else but this domination and exploitation regularized and systematized. We shall attempt to demonstrate it by examining the consequence of the government of the masses of the people by a minority, at first as intelligent and as devoted as you like, in an ideal state, founded on a free contract. Suppose the government to be confined only to the best citizens. At first these citizens are privileged not by right, but by fact. They have been elected by the people because they are the most intelligent, clever, wise, and courageous and devoted. Taken from the mass the citizens, who are regarded as all equal, they do not yet form a class apart, but a group of men privileged only by nature and for that very reason singled out for election by the people. Their number is necessarily very limited, for in all times and countries the number of men endowed with qualities so remarkable that they automatically command the unanimous respect of a nation is, as experience teaches us, very small. Therefore, under pain of making a bad choice, the people will be always forced to choose its rulers from amongst them. Here, then, is society divided into two categories, if not yet to say two classes, of which one, composed of the immense majority of the citizens, submits freely to the government of its elected leaders, the other, formed of a small number of privileged natures, recognized and accepted as such by the people, and charged by them to govern them. Dependent on popular election, they are at first distinguished from the mass of the citizens only by the very qualities which recommended them to their choice and are naturally the most devoted and useful of all. They do not yet assume to themselves any privilege, any particular right, except that of exercising, in so far as the people wish it, the special functions with which they have been charged. For the rest, by their manner of life, by the conditions and means of their existence, they do not separate themselves in any way from all the others, so that a perfect equality continues to reign among all. Can this equality be long maintained? We claim that it cannot, and nothing is easier to prove it. Nothing is more dangerous for man's private morality than the habit of command. The best man, the most intelligent, disinterested, generous, pure, will infallibly and always be spoiled at this trade. Two sentiments inherent in power never fail to produce this demoralization. They are contempt for the masses and the overestimation of one's own merits. The masses, a man says to himself, recognizing their incapacity to govern on their own account, have elected me their chief. By that act they have publicly proclaimed their inferiority and my superiority. Among this crowd of men, recognizing hardly any equals of myself, I am alone capable of directing public affairs. The people have need of me. They cannot do without services, while I, on the contrary, can get along all right by myself. They, therefore, must obey me for their own security, and in condescending to command them, I am doing them a good turn. Is not there something in all that to make a man lose his head and his heart as well, and become mad with pride? It is thus that power and the habit of command become for even the most intelligent and virtuous men a source of aberration, both intellectual and moral. But in the People's State of Marx, there will be, we are told, no privileged class at all. All will be equal, not only from the juridical and political point of view, but from the economic point of view. At least that is what is promised, though I doubt very much, considering the manner in which it is being tackled and the course it is desired to follow, whether that promise could ever be kept. There will therefore be no longer any privileged class, but there will be a government, and, note this well, an extremely complex government, which will not content itself with governing and administering the masses politically, as all governments do today, but which will also administer them economically, concentrating in its own hands the production and the just division of wealth, the cultivation of land, the establishment and development of factories, the organization and direction of commerce, finally the application of capital to production by the only banker, the state. All that will demand an immense knowledge and many heads overflowing with brains in this government. It will be the reign of scientific intelligence, the most aristocratic, despotic, arrogant and contemptuous of all regimes. There will be a new class, a new hierarchy of real and pretended scientists and scholars, and the world will be divided into a minority ruling in the name of knowledge and an immense ignorant majority. And then, woe betide the mass of ignorant ones. Such a regime will not fail to arouse very considerable discontent in this mass, and in order to keep it in check, the enlightenment and liberating government of Marx will have need of a not less considerable armed force. For the government must be strong, says Engels, to maintain order among these millions of illiterates whose brutal uprising would be capable of destroying and overthrowing everything, even a government directed by heads overflowing with brains. You can see quite well that behind all the democratic and socialistic phrases and promises of Marx's program, there is to be found in the state all that constitutes the true despotic and brutal nature of all states, whatever may be the form of their government, and that in the final reckoning, the people's state so strongly commended by Marx, and the aristocratic monarchic state, maintained with as much cleverness as power by Bismarck, are completely identical by the nature of their objective at home as well as in foreign affairs. In foreign affairs it is the same deployment of military force, that is to say, conquest. And in home affairs it is the same employment of this armed force, the last argument of all threatened political powers against the masses, who, tired of believing, hoping, submitting and obeying always, rise and revolt. Marx's communist idea comes to light in all his writings. It is also manifest in the motions put forward by the General Council of the International Working Men's Association, situated in London, at the Congress of Basel in 1869, as well as by the proposals which he had intended to present to the Congress, which was to take place in September 1870, but which had to be suspended because of the Franco-German War. As a member of the General Council in London and the corresponding secretary for Germany, Marx enjoys in this council, as is well known, a great and, it must be admitted, legitimate influence, so that it can be taken for certain that of the motions put to the Congress by the Council, several are principally derived from the system and the collaboration of Marx. It was in this way that the English citizen Lucraft, a member of the General Council, put forward at the Congress of Basel the idea that all the land in a country should become the property of the state, and that the cultivation of this land should be directed and administered by state officials, which, he added, will only be possible in a democratic and socialist state, in which the people will have to watch carefully over the good administration of the national land by the state. This cult of the state is, in general, the principal characteristic of German socialism. Lassalle, the greatest socialist agitator and the true founder of the practical socialist movement in Germany, was steeped in it. He saw no salvation for the workers except in the power of the state, of which the workers should possess themselves, according to him, by means of universal suffrage. Bakunin, Marxism, freedom and the state. 4. Internationalism and the state. Let us consider the real, national policy of Marx himself. Like Bismarck, he is a German patriot. He desires the greatness and power of Germany as a state. No one anyway will count it a crime in him to love his country and his people. And since he is so profoundly convinced that the state is the condition sine qua non of the prosperity,
Ladies and gentlemen, my daughter is up. She's still suffering from the bad chicken she ate. So I'm gonna need to get off and go sit with her. That's gonna be all I'm gonna be able to do today. Thanks for tuning in. Any advice, help, help. I would love it, but for now, it's time for me to sign off, and it won't be next time. Till next time, I'm gonna do a class. Reach out to me. I'll do a class at from 3 to 4. So I'll stream it if you want to just tune into the stream, and I'll also be simultaneously in a Google Meet if everything goes well. I'm going to try to start and get it set up at 1, so it'll be more effective. But it's probably going to be a website, WordPress administration, how to do your WordPress, etc., etc. So take care. Send me some donations if you can. PayPal me at David McBride 1963. I would appreciate it. And take care. Goodbye.